At 3 in the morning, when the world is completely quiet and there is nothing left to distract them, this person speaks to you out loud. Not to you directly, to the version of you that lives in their mind. They say the things they have never said to your face, the confession they have been carrying for months, the admission that would change everything if they ever actually let it leave their body. They say it in the dark to no one, and then they lie there in the silence of having said it, and they feel relieved and terrified at the same time because they know it is real now. They said it out loud and they cannot take it back, not even to themselves. This has been happening more than once. The 3 a.m. confessions, the rehearsed admissions, the things they have said only to the ceiling of their own room, and what those confessions contain, what they actually feel, what they have been saying in the dark when no one is listening is going to leave you speechless. Stay here, because every word of what I am about to tell you has been building for a long time, and you deserve to know all of it. Hi, I'm Cassia. Welcome back to Manifest God's Voice with Cassia. If you felt that opening in your body, if something in you went still when I started talking, subscribe right now and like this video. That is your energy confirming this belongs to you. And as always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. That is the only rule here. Let's go. Before I get into what this person has been saying in the dark, I need to sit with who you are first, because the reading is showing me your energy right now and I need you to receive this. What I'm about to tell you is the reason this is all happening, and you need to understand what you are before I can tell you what you are doing to them. I'm getting that you are someone people notice before you ever said a word. The way you look, not just physically, the whole thing, the specific way your presence lands in a space that is the first thing. People clock you, but here is what they are not prepared for. They look at you expecting one thing, and then you open your mouth, or you don't open your mouth when everyone else does, and something happens that they were not ready for. Something is there that the surface did not promise, something deeper, something that takes the initial impression and makes it completely obsolete. Yeah, that is exactly what is happening every time. I feel like you catch things. That is the hidden layer I'm getting with you. You walk into a room and within about 30 seconds, you have read the entire temperature of it. Who's performing, who's actually not okay, what the conversation is really about underneath what it claims to be about. The thing that was said 2 exchanges ago that nobody else registered as significant, you registered it, you filed it, you are running a completely different level of analysis than anyone else in the room. And you don't announce this. You don't say, I see what is happening here. You just watch quietly, carefully, waiting to see if anyone else catches it. And most of the time they don't. Not coldness, not distance, not aloofness, a mind operating at a level most people don't have access to. That's it. That is the whole thing. I'm also getting something very specific, and I want to say it carefully. You have a face and a presence that people project onto. They decide what you are from a distance before they have been close enough to actually find out. Some decided you were easy because the beauty made it feel that way. Some decided you were untouchable because something about you made them feel like they couldn't measure up, and that was easier to name as your problem than theirs. Some put you in a box, the pretty one, the quiet one, the too much one, the confusing one, the intimidating one. They built a version of you that was workable for them, and they dealt with that version. And none of those versions were accurate, and you knew it, and you said nothing because you have learned that not every room deserves the full version of your discernment. You have spent time being partially understood by people who thought they had you completely figured out. Yeah, I know. Here is where it cost you something, because I don't want to skip this. The wound I'm feeling in this reading is specific. At some point, probably more than once, you understood that being both things at the same time made people uncomfortable, that the combination created a kind of dissonance for them that they resolved by choosing one and dismissing the other. Either you were the beautiful one and the depth was surprising and therefore suspicious, or you were the deep one and the beauty was something to be explained away. Nobody wanted to hold both, because holding both required them to be in the presence of something genuinely rare. And genuinely rare is uncomfortable for people who are not ready for it. So they called it too much. They called it confusing. They called it hard to read. And some part of you, the part that is smart and adaptive and always trying to understand the situation, took those signals and made adjustments, made yourself smaller in certain rooms, offered the surface version because the full version kept landing wrong. And you got so good at the partial version that sometimes you forgot the full one existed. You are not too much. You are both things fully. And the rooms you were in were simply too small. Here is the power. Your mind is your protection. That is what I am getting very clearly right now. Your beauty is what gets people into the room, and your mind is what decides who stays. You cannot be impressed by the surface of things. You cannot be dazzled by performance. Someone can arrive with everything the world says should matter: the look, the confidence, the presence, the money, the status, and if there is nothing real underneath it, if there is no depth there that can hold up under your actual attention, you feel it immediately and you close. Not dramatically, just you stop leaning in and you turn your focus somewhere else. And people feel that turning away like a door shutting, and they spend years trying to figure out what they did wrong. The person this reading is about, they did not get that closing. They passed the filter, and it is undoing them in the most complete and specific way. Now, let me tell you about them, because this is the part of the reading that I need to give you completely every layer. Everything that has been happening inside this person since the moment you came into their awareness. This is someone who watches before they speak. That is the most important thing to understand about who they are. They are not loud about how they feel. They are not forward. They observe, they gather, they build a picture over time before they ever say anything that reveals what is actually happening in them. They have done this because they had to, not out of cowardice, out of survival, because at some point they moved too quickly, said too much too soon, led with the full weight of what they felt, and it cost them. So now they watch first. They are patient in a way that looks like indifference if you don't know how to read it, and most people don't know how to read it, but you do. Or some part of you does, and that knowing is part of what is happening here. They have been watching you longer than you know, not casually, not in the peripheral way that most people exist in each other's awareness, with real attention, the kind of attention that catches small things, the specific way you say something when you are not managing how you come across, the detail you mentioned once in passing that most people let go and they held on to, the shift in your energy on a particular day that nobody else seemed to notice, but that they clocked immediately and filed and have thought about since. They have been paying this quality of attention to you for longer than you would believe if I told you exactly how long, and they have said nothing, because with you saying something means risking everything, and they are not ready to risk everything until they are sure. They noticed you first in a way that stopped something in them, something about the way you exist in space, not the way you try to be seen, just the way you actually are interrupted their pattern. They were in the middle of something ordinary and you came into their awareness and something in them went still. They are not someone who gets stopped often. They are the observer. They are the one who watches other people get stopped by things, and you stopped them just by being what you are, just by existing the way you exist, and they noticed the stopping and they registered it as significant, and they have been carrying that registration quietly ever since. They had you in a category. This is how they function. Everyone who observes at this level builds frameworks, builds working models of people, builds categories that help them manage the amount they take in. They had a version of you mapped. It was a reasonable map built from what they could see from a distance, from the surface, from the way other people responded to you, and that version felt manageable. And then something happened. One moment. Something you said or didn't say when everyone else would have. Something you did that had no performance in it whatsoever, no angle, no strategy, just a completely unguarded, honest response to something. And the map broke completely. They had to start over, not just with their understanding of you, with everything. Because once the map broke, the comfortable distance broke with it. The managed, safe, filed away version of you was gone. And what replaced it was the actual truth of who you are. And the actual truth of who you are is not something that can be held at a distance. It has to be lived with. It has to be carried. And they have been carrying it every day without your knowledge. That one moment, that single thing, the category broke, and they have not been the same since, not even a little. Your beauty was the thing that made them look. Your mind was the thing that made it impossible to look away. That is the sequence. That is exactly how this happened. They saw you, and the surface said, pay attention, and they paid attention. And then you revealed something intentionally or completely by accident that had nothing to do with the surface, something that was 10 layers deep and landed that way. And they felt it land. And everything they thought they were doing, the watching, the cataloging, the building of a safe and manageable framework, all of it dissolved because what they had just encountered was not something frameworks can hold. It is not something that can be filed. It just has to be felt. And they have been feeling it constantly since that moment. That is deeper than attraction. That is deeper than chemistry. That is someone encountering something they did not know was possible and not being able to unknow it. That's the whole thing. This person is good at reading people. Genuinely, specifically good in a way that most people are not. They have built their understanding of the world around this ability, the ability to read energy, to read rooms, to know what someone needs or fears or wants before they say it. They are almost never caught off guard, and they have been trying to read you since the moment you entered their awareness. They watch for the signal, the moment your energy shifts in a way that tells them something true, the thing you let slip that reveals where you actually stand. The tell that would give them something real to work with, and they have nothing. You have given them absolutely nothing, not because you are playing a game, because you are genuinely full, because you are not leaking the kind of need that most people leak, because you exist in your own life completely without requiring anything from them, and that completeness reads as unreadable. And it is making them crazy. Not frustrated crazy, obsessed crazy. The kind that lives in the background of every other thing they do, every ordinary day, every unrelated conversation. You are there because they have not solved you. And this type of person does not leave things unsolved, especially not things that matter this much. When other people get close to you, when someone else is in your space, getting your laugh, standing too near, something in them ignites that has no rational basis. Something possessive, something that says no before any reasonable thought can follow it. They feel it in the chest first, quick and involuntary. They have no claim on you. They know this. They are a self-aware person, and they feel it anyway, every time, with the same intensity, without any decrease. Because somewhere past the logic and the observation and the careful restraint, their entire system has already decided you are theirs. And now they are living in the gap between what they feel and what the situation actually is. And that gap is getting harder to live in every single day. They have no right to feel it. They feel it. That is how far this has gone. Here is what they imagine. And I want to be specific about this because it is different from what you might expect. They do not imagine the dramatic version of you. They do not imagine the version that would impress someone from the outside. What they imagine is the private version, the soft version, the version of you that only exists when you are completely unguarded, when you are in a space where you don't have to be anything for anyone, when the armor is down, when you are just in your own life being exactly who you are with no audience. They imagine what you are like in that mode. The specific way you talk when you are not managing how you are landing. The sound of your voice when nothing is filtered. What you are like when something genuinely makes you laugh and you don't think about how the laugh looks. They have thought about this more than they have thought about any of the more obvious things. Because what they want underneath all of it, underneath the watching and the carrying and the rehearsed confessions, is to be the person you feel safe enough to be real with, to be someone you trust with the full version, the private version, the one nobody else gets. They want to be trusted by you. That is what this is. That is the specific thing this is about. And they remember things, small things you said that you have completely forgotten, things that were offhand to you and enormous to them, a sentence that slipped out, a preference you mentioned once without thinking, something you revealed without realizing you were revealing anything. They held all of it carefully, like it was precious, like it was something that needed to be protected. Because to them, every fragment of the real you that has accidentally surfaced is a fragment of proof. Proof that you are who they think you are. Proof that the full version is as rare as they suspect. They have been collecting these fragments without your knowledge. They take them out sometimes in the quiet at 3 a.m. and they sit with them and they feel the full weight of wanting someone they have not yet moved toward. They remember everything. You have no idea how much they remember. And that is the thing. Now let me tell you about the 3 a.m. confessions, because this is the specific thing that is in this reading most loudly right now, and I need to give it to you completely. They have said your name out loud, alone, in an empty room, just to hear how it sounds in a sentence that is finally honest. They have said the whole thing, the real confession, the version that contains everything they have been carrying out loud to themselves more than once in different versions, testing which version is honest without being overwhelming, which version is vulnerable without being a burden. They say it, and then they lie in the silence of having said it, and it feels real. And it is terrifying that it feels real, because real things can be lost. And the thought of losing this, the thought of saying the real thing to your face and having it land wrong is the specific terror that has been keeping them in silence. They have said the confession to the ceiling, to the quiet, to the version of you that lives in their mind. And you have not heard any of it yet. But here is what is changing. Here is the shift that I am feeling in this reading very specifically. The pressure has been building for a long time, and pressure does not build forever without doing something. There are 2 fears that have been living in this person simultaneously. The fear of approaching you wrong, because they know that with you, wrong means permanent. They can feel how complete your standard is. They can feel that you are not someone who gives second chances to bad timing. That fear has been the louder one for a while. But there is a second fear, the fear of not moving at all, the fear of watching your life continue without them in it, the fear of someone else getting to you first, the fear of a morning when they wake up and the window has closed and they are the person who rehearsed the confession for years and never said it. That fear is getting louder now, and the ratio is shifting. Every day you live fully in your own life. Every day your energy radiates the kind of completeness they cannot look away from. The second fear gains on the first. And when it overtakes it and it is close, it is very close. That is when the confession leaves the ceiling and comes to find you. The shift is already happening. The movement is coming. And when it comes, it will not be small. Quick pause right here. If this reading is not news to you, if this is landing like confirmation of something your instincts have already been telling you for a long time, comment "I already knew" below, because you already knew. Part of you has known for a while. Your instincts have been accurate this whole time. Like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, because we are not even at the most important part yet. Now I want to turn to you fully, not to them, to you. Because there is something in this reading that has nothing to do with what they feel and everything to do with what you carry. And I think this is actually the part you came here for, even if you didn't know that when you clicked. I feel like you have been holding a lot alone. And I mean that in a very specific way. Not just emotionally alone in being truly understood. You have been in rooms full of people and been quietly completely alone, in the sense that nobody in those rooms was actually seeing what was in front of them. They were seeing the version you offered, the version that was manageable for them. And somewhere along the way, because you are smart and because you adapt, you learned to lead with that version, to offer the surface, because the full version kept landing badly and you got so good at the partial version that sometimes you forgot the full one existed. And that the forgetting is the thing that I want to sit with for a moment, because it was never supposed to happen. and it is not the truth of who you are, and you need to remember that. People have looked at you and decided what you were before they understood you, before they earned the right to form any opinion at all. They called you too pretty to take seriously, called you too serious to be accessible, called you intimidating in a way that made your presence the problem rather than their discomfort, called you too much, meaning they couldn't hold what you were bringing and they needed it to be your fault. Some part of you received those labels. The smart, adaptive, trying to understand the situation part of you filed them as data and made adjustments, made yourself quieter in certain rooms, warmer in others, more available, less intense, more surface, less full. And every adjustment cost you something. Every time you made yourself smaller to make someone else more comfortable with you, it cost you something. I need to say the thing that I don't think anyone has said to you clearly enough. Those people were not wrong that you were different. You are different. The observation was correct, but they were entirely, completely, fundamentally wrong about what different meant. They were standing in front of the most interesting person in the room, someone whose mind operates at a level that most people never reach, someone who sees what other people don't see, someone who has held both extraordinary beauty and extraordinary depth at the same time without apology, and they made it your fault that they couldn't hold it. They called it a problem because they did not have the range to call it what it actually was. Rare, real, exactly right, that is their limitation. It was never your flaw, and it never belonged to you. You picked it up because it was handed to you and nobody told you that you could put it down. You can put it down today, right now. That weight is not yours to carry anymore. You are not too much. You are exactly what you are. And the rooms are finally getting big enough. And I need to say this because it is in the reading and it is real. Something is shifting this season, not in the vague, distant future this season. Something is opening, a door, an opportunity, a conversation or a connection or a direction that finally matches the level you have actually been operating at quietly, without recognition, for longer than is fair. The same quality that made certain people uncomfortable, the depth that went past where they were comfortable, the standards that required actual effort, the discernment that couldn't be bypassed, that is the exact thing that is about to open something significant for you. Watch for it, because when it comes, it is not going to feel like luck. It is going to feel like things finally making sense, like the world catching up to what you already were. Your gifts are not the barrier. They are the key. They just needed the right door. And the last thing, you do not have to lower your standard because you feel the pull. You do not have to make yourself more available because the chemistry is real and you want it to be easier for them. Your discernment is not a wall. It is a function. It is the part of you that knows the difference between someone who wants access to you and someone who is willing to become worthy of you. And those are two completely different things. The right person, the one this reading is about, they are not going to look at your standard and feel restricted. They are going to look at it and understand what it means. They are going to understand that what you offer, once you actually offer it, is something that cannot be easily found. And that understanding is going to make them want to be the kind of person you would choose. Not because you demanded it, because you simply are what you are. And what you are requires a response from the people around you. And the right people respond by rising. That is the whole difference. That is what separates this from everything before. You are not too much. You have never been too much. Every single person who stood in front of the full version of you and called it a problem was not built for it. Not deep enough, not present enough, not willing enough to stay in contact with something genuinely real. That is the entire explanation. They were not built for it. And you kept offering yourself to spaces that were not designed for what you actually are, and you interpreted the misfit as your fault. It was never your fault. The right person does not look at what you are and see something to manage or correct or soften. The right person looks at what you are and feels finally, someone real. Finally, someone whose depth I cannot reach the bottom of. Finally, someone I do not have to protect from the full version of myself because they were built to hold it. That is what this person feels when they think about you at 3 a.m. That is what they say in the dark. Finally, they are coming. The shift is already in motion. and the confession is almost ready to leave the ceiling. When they say the real thing in real time with you actually there to hear it, something in you is going to know before they finish the sentence. You are going to feel it land the way real things land. Quietly, completely, like something slotting into the place it was always supposed to occupy. Let it land when it comes. Do not talk yourself out of it. Your instincts have been right about this the entire time. Trust them. If this reading found you the way it was supposed to, like the video right now, 1 second. It matters more than you know. Subscribe to Manifest God's Voice with Cassia. New readings come through every single week. The one that is meant for you is always on its way. Do not miss it. Share this with someone who has been misread. Someone who was called too much, too intense, too quiet, too deep, too everything that made other people uncomfortable. Send it to them. They need to hear this today. And comment, I already knew if this whole reading was yours. Or tell me the one line that hit the hardest. I read every single one. Every comment. I will see you in the next reading. Your instincts were right. They have always been right. Now watch what happens when they finally say it out loud.